to a listening session. This morning, we are going to have a listening session that is sponsored by the local area agency on aging. We will actually have a total of 5 listening sessions, which are scheduled to address each of the goals that are in the recently released Governor's Master Plan on Aging. Today's session will focus on Goal 3, inclusion and equity, not isolation. We will have lifelong opportunities for work, volunteering, community engagement, and leadership, and will be protected from isolation, discrimination, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. That's what Goal 3 is all about. The target for this goal is to keep increasing life satisfaction as we age in California. They've identified in the master plan 6 areas within this goal for our discussion at today's listening session. These 6 areas are inclusion and equity in aging, opportunities for work, opportunities to volunteer and engage across generations, closing the digital divide, protection from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and California leadership in aging. Today, Jerry Mehash, who is the Information Referral Specialist from the Independent Living Resource Center, will facilitate our listening session. He will present some introductory remarks to get us focused on today's topics and to engage us in these important areas. The AAA wants to thank Jerry for his work today to enable a complete discussion. He's just a nice guy, so he was the first person to say yes regarding the 5. The forum today is via Zoom. It's a meeting. And we'll provide everybody with the opportunity to speak. Please be patient and courteous to all the speakers. You are invited, as most of you have done, to mute yourself while others speak to eliminate background noise and enhance clarity. We are attempting to record this session, and we'll have the recording available on our website shortly, and that is www.centralcoastseniors.org. Again, thank you for participating in today's listening session. As the governor stated in his introduction to the Master Plan on Aging, we can build the age-friendly California every one of us deserves. And we will be working together, and this is our beginning. So my name is Joyce Littman. I work at the Area Agency on Aging, and it's my pleasure to introduce Jerry to everyone. Now, I have my written instructions on how to make him the host. I'm going to do my best, but if you hear me shouting, Gary, that's sort of like code for help. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a novice at this technology stuff. I won't say it's because I'm old. I would say it's because I never seem to have enough time to learn how to do these things. And so I'm starting to transfer this to Gary, and you can tell by my voice, to Jerry, although I am shouting Gary, to make him host. And I almost...
Yeah, and it has, it says you are the host now. So it looks like I'll be able to share my screen. All right, so I will take it from here then. So good morning, everybody. And thank you, Joyce Ellen, for the kind introduction there. As Joyce Ellen was saying, my name is Jeremy Heitch, and I'm with the Independent Living Resource Center. I work at the San Luis Obispo office. We're based in Santa Barbara, actually, but we have offices in Ventura and Santa Maria as well. So we have 4 offices. And what we do is we help people with disabilities with all types of different services, including housing, benefits, and assistive technology has become a big part of what we do. And as I go into just making sure that people are included in everything, and how assistive technology has been such a big part of bringing seniors into the fold of things. And as you can see, we're doing this thing through Zoom. And through our programs with assistive technology, one of the things that's been a big part of what we've done during COVID in particular is getting Chromebook computers out for seniors and people with disabilities, various ages. And also creating some of the chat spaces that we have in support groups through Zoom. So we have a weekly chat space every Friday. That's at 1 p.m. That's for our consumers. So our consumers come in and then we talk about different issues. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. And so just to give you just a summary of the programs that we do have. We're still closed to the public in a lot of ways, but we are making appointments now in our office. Little by little, we were working only from home for the longest time. But now we are back in the office now. Starting in April, we all got back to our offices, and a lot of things are still being done through computers and telephones, and of course like this through Zoom. Let me just bring this up here. So I'm going to share my screen here. So you can see the ILRC there. All services are available remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this just kind of gives you a summary of what we do. So the Independent Living Resource Center is a disability advocacy and services nonprofit organization located in San Luis Obispo County. So this has been particular for our office here for San Luis Obispo, but all the other offices do similar things. And when I was talking about assistive technology, that's one thing that's really has been the focus during COVID. Because we have so many isolated seniors that we help, and it's getting them to get the services that they need. So when we look at that assistive technology, it's in a lot of situations, we have seniors that all they have is their television and the landline. They don't even have a cell phone in many cases. So much less a smartphone or a computer. And so there's been a focus on getting that technology out to them, but then it's getting them to use that technology. So a lot of times that's where, we have some of the challenges there. So what we do in this type of situation, first of all, we see what things they need. So as far as housing, how are their benefits? Are they getting the personal assistance that they need in their house? Do they have IHSS? Do they need additional supports in their home? We do the independent living skills training, peer support. That's where I was talking about the chat space that has grown. And it's very encouraging to see that. So a lot of seniors now with their Chromebook computers, or if they had a computer to begin with, they look forward to that. We were going to do it maybe every other week for a while, and then they would tell us, no, this is something that we really look forward to doing every week. So that's been a really beneficial program that we've had. So that would be pretty much under that peer support. And of course, advocacy, which is the next item there, right here. That's the the gist of what we do overall as an organization. So we're been around for 45 years. This is our 45-year anniversary. And one way that we've been reaching out to provide this information out there and the advocacy that we do is one program that we have is that Public Safety Power Shutoff, which is the PSPS preparedness. So when we do things through the power companies, it's also getting those individuals involved through other programs, getting engaged with our other programs and services as well. So if they're part of their, making sure that they're maybe part of that medical baseline program, are they signed on to that through the utility company? So that's another way through this next item that I have on there, which is the emergency preparedness and disaster response planning. Then we sign them up for a lot of these things that are available to them. So it's another way of connecting with them, whether it's through the utility company or also working with other organizations to collaborate with them, like let's say Meals That Connect or the Meals on Wheels type of thing, so that the contact is made, whether it's at their home, these people that they're already talking to, that they're comfortable with, and then creating just another connection to get them engaged with our organization and making sure that they're getting those services that they need. And then, so we have that, and then also delivering to them the free, the PPE material. So we create little bags for them where we have hand sanitizers and the masks and different things like that. So as we get to see people more face to face now, and we continue to do that, but making sure that they have all the things that they need. So those give you just an overview of the services that we do have at this office. Typically, when somebody calls us, they'll talk to me first, and I do something that's called options counseling with them. A lot of times people who call us don't know what services they may qualify for or what they need. So I need to maybe ask a little more questions. But the ultimate goal is to provide the services and to keep them as independent as possible. And now, of course, going back to the Chromebook computers, when we get those out to them, it's a 1-year loan actually that we do have. So we keep track of how that is helping them with their independence and getting the services. Are they using it for medical appointments? Are they using to connect with family? How that has helped them, and what else we can help them achieve with that technology. The other thing too is, as we are part of other organizations, like I'm part of the Latino Outreach Council, is getting other, various different cultures involved in many of these programs. So we do a lot of outreach as well. Of course, our outreach has been limited to what we used to do before, going to the senior fairs and doing a lot of tabling events that we used to do in the past, have now been either collaborating with other organizations to do drive-by events. So like we did one with the Paso Robles Senior Center, for instance, where we provide the PPE materials for them. They create bags of information, so we have brochures. So there's different ways of doing the outreach that we were able to do before and in different gatherings. Now we're having to be a little bit more creative with that and doing the drive-bys and doing things where, like I said, even at food distribution centers or at different events that senior centers do. Before, we used to use the library quite a bit for an information center, having our brochures and having different programs and events that we would do with the libraries. Now that the libraries have been closed or with very limited services, then we've had to kind of adjust that as well. But ultimately, it's just to look at creative ways of getting those seniors involved. And one of the difficult challenges a lot of times is just getting over that hump of getting comfortable with technology. But many times what I'm seeing is like, once they see what the possibilities are for them using that Chromebook computer or whatever other technology that they're now starting to access, they go, wow, I had no idea that we could do all those things. And as an example, for instance, in our last chat space that we did last Friday, the topic, we're trying to select topics, but a lot of times that can be very flexible as well. The topic was art. And so it was teaching all the participants of how they can do virtual tours of museums, how they can read about different paintings, and then the different features of how things can be zoomed in, because, you know, a lot of times there can be visual limitations or hearing limitations. So how we can do like a little demonstration of it, just how you can zoom into a painting, or the letters can be bigger. So it's also a teaching experience for them too, through some of these chat spaces that we do. And again, it's just to getting that individual engaged. And this, you know, and through technology, but it's just getting them to use that device and then feel comfortable with it eventually. And then it seems that once they're comfortable with it and they're using it, it's just they're excited. It just creates somebody that's definitely becomes more lively, and they don't feel that isolation. Because as I was reading in the reports that on the master plan for aging, is that there's 1.8 million Californians 60 and over live alone. So that's a lot of people that are living alone. So the COVID has really exacerbated that loneliness or that isolation. And so it's through technology that we're hoping to overcome that and keep people engaged. So that's kind of a summary of that. I don't know if at this point, if any of you have any questions. I mean, I can go into a little bit more detail about some of the programs that we have. And of course, you know, I'll look at the chat area as well. And we're recording this, so if there's anything else that maybe later, if you want to look at it, something that I may have mentioned, I'm going to put my email on the chat space, and then you can always contact me that way as well. Okay, but any questions so far, or any comments that anybody has? I'm going to look at the, let's see.
I just want to remind everybody that you know, we're here to listen. Jerry and I are very interested in what you all think our local community can do to address the issues of inclusion and you know, reduce isolation, reduce elder abuse, and enhance the digital divide among our senior population. So Jerry, do you think this is a good time to sort of open it up and encourage people, you know, one by one to share with us their ideas?
Yeah, I think so.
So if anybody wants to, you know, start to add to this, start the conversation, please do so. Just unmute yourself and we're ready.
Yeah.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
I have something that I wanted to share with all of you. And hello, good morning, everybody. And thank you, Jerry. My name is Karen Ames, and I'm a long-term care ombudsman for Santa Barbara County. under the umbrella of Family Service Agency. I thought this was fantastic. I was at one of my RCFEs, that stands for Residential Care for Elderly Home, and they were all the ladies were in the living room, the residents, and they were writing their pen pals, and they were all excited. They were talking about their pen pal, and I said, "Oh, well, who's your pen pal?" And the administrator there was telling me that the high schools, as y'all know, that seniors, I think juniors and seniors, they have to do, I believe, like 30 hours of community service. And the high school there in Santa Maria chose for their community service, the senior class, to choose assisted living for seniors, and contact the administrator and do a pen pal thing. So this had been going on for, I guess, the last 6 months or so. And so it was a community service for the senior high school seniors, but it was really exciting for the residents, and they were just thrilled. And the kids were asking them, you know, how has isolation, you know, affected you emotionally, physically? You know, what can we do to help? And just writing back and forth. And then for Easter, they made up Easter baskets with goodies and things for the seniors, and delivered them at the door. And they could see them through the window, and at least get to like meet them for the first time after 6 months. So I just wanted to share, because it was such a positive, they were just thrilled. They were so excited. And I thought, gosh, I wish more of the high schools would, you know, do something. So I'm thinking maybe reaching out to the high schools and giving them that idea of, you know, our seniors that have been so isolated this past year, maybe for their senior project, or, you know, whatever, maybe getting the word out to the high schools that this particular high school did in Santa Maria.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. I mean, that's something here too that we've worked on with Cal Poly University. Yeah. Is getting the young people involved in that. Especially one thing that kind of went on hiatus, we haven't had the meetings anymore, but was through the Commission on Aging. So at the Commission on Aging, we'd have different presenters, and we were trying to get younger people to come to many of those meetings as well, to get that younger generation involved with the Commission on Aging, and doing that intersection of different generations just coming together, and where each one benefits from the other one. And so it's, but I think, yeah, through high schools and getting those different generations mixing together and getting engaged with each other, I think is so important. Anybody else have any thoughts or any success stories, any things that have happened in your communities or in your areas of work or whatever that you want to share with the group? That'd be great. And then I put my email and phone number on the chat. And then Joyce, if we want to save any of the chats things, we can do that at the end as well. I know we're recording this, but we can save anything that's on that chat space and save it.
I had a question. Yeah. This is Carrie Sheets with Slow Village, and we have been trying very hard to do very similar things with the technology assistance and for our members. So many of them, like you said, don't even have smartphones. You made it sound like it was a pretty simple process to get Chromebooks in their hands and that they were using them. I'm wondering, I understand you had the chat time that maybe there was some learning going on, but we found it very difficult to help our members over the phone or even on Zoom. Well, Zoom, you know, of course they have to figure out first how to get on Zoom, but we were doing one-on-one trainings with people who wanted to learn or help. But I'm wondering how you rolled that out so well. It sounds like it was such a success.
Well, it still presents challenges with some people who get that, I think, of not being able to work face to face with them. Because a lot of times, especially when we were working from home, that was the hardest time, because we could just basically, okay, well, leave it by your front door or something. And so there is I think I had one here. There's an instruction thing that comes with each box, but because we preloaded a lot of these things for them. So we open up the box, it looks like a little pizza box, basically. So when they open that up, it's already preloaded with Zoom, but the main requirement is that they have to have internet. Because these Chromebook computers are very internet driven. I mean, there's no wireless internet. So basically it's turning it on, just pressing, getting that button, but they do have to set up an email. And sometimes that's been the most challenging part. It's like, well, how do I set up that email? It's like, so we have an assistive technology advocate. Her name's Nicole. So she'll go over to the phone. She's fairly patient with them, and we'll sit there and, okay, you press this, you go with this, but now it's become a little bit easier because she can go and actually meet with them. And as long as they both have their masks, they'll do it outside, maybe of their home. So it's still a little limited. It's still a little challenging. And many of them who do have that, it's getting them to actually use it to its full advantage. They go, yeah, I turned it on and I can, okay, maybe I went into Amazon and ordered some, but now to also really start using it. And what we started doing now too is one of our advocates started creating these great flyers that are, we use Canva, which is a program for the flyers that's been very useful for us. And getting that to our database where we have emails of people. So once that we've had the contact via email, it's getting those people more involved in our chat spaces and our peer support groups. So we have, like even today at 11 o'clock, we're having one that's just specifically for COVID questions, and issues, and talking about vaccines and all of that. But a lot of times it's getting that person to, okay, don't be scared of this little device that we're giving you. Just turn it off. If nothing else, just turn it back off. Just turn off the power, replug it in, reset it. So sometimes just talking to them. So sometimes I'll get a call. I go, I don't know, the screen is just black. What do I do? I go, is it plugged in? Plug it in, and then just doing that alone will set it in. Maybe your battery is totally run down, and just, so sometimes it could be simple things, but other times it is pretty challenging for them to just even get over that fear of technology. But the thing with COVID is that they have come across so many obstacles where their doctors say, oh, you have to go online for that. You have to go online for this. No, we only take online applications. You have to get on the internet for this information. So it's the necessity, it's that necessity that is driving them to, okay, eventually tear down that barrier, and go for it. But we still come across those obstacles. But again, like I was saying, there's one other brochure that I wanted to share with you. And let's see if we can see this one here. That's part of that power shutoff. That's opened up quite a few doors for us, because a lot of the consumers that we serve, they use equipment. For instance, they may use oxygen machines, they use power wheelchairs, things like that. And so through this PSPS program that we had, we get that connection with them first. And then we go, okay, in order, we had to sign you up with this. This is through your utility company that we're going to do that. So there's already that connection because we have an agreement with both PG&E and Southern California Edison for a lot of these things, for getting the batteries that they may need. So they're already signed up for some of these programs. Now it's just showing them that they can do a lot of these things for themselves also through using a Chromebook computer. So, that kind of, we've had the challenges as well, but it's encouraging to see the success stories that we've had of people that said, oh, I never would have ever imagined myself using a computer, and now they're teaching us how to use some of these things, so it's really good to see that.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else with any thoughts or questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll call on you. Let's see. Joyce Ellen, as far as time and things, did you want me to cover anything else, or? You're muted right now. But.
I think we really just need to encourage people to help us understand what can we do locally to try and address these issues, what thoughts, what challenges people face. We are going to be, working with community members. So and we want to start working, trying, especially addressing, I think, the digital divide. I think, that's just really critical to reduce, eliminate the isolation that people have, not just during the pandemic, but on an ongoing basis, when you see people who become frail and are living alone and want to maintain their independence, don't want to be dependent, but in reality, we're all dependent on someone, something. So I'm hoping more people will contribute with their thoughts this morning.
Yeah. That's Simone.
Good. Okay. My name is Simone Levine, and I'm a member of the Advisory Council of the Area Agency on Aging for both counties. Two things. First, I wanted to ask a question about your agency. With the emphasis on disability, do you sometimes help people that have sort of crossover problems who aren't disabled but might come to you for information or help?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. We get a lot of calls also from family members as well, and other agencies that provide services for seniors, let's say. But that's that's one of the main things that we do. So every office has an information referral specialist, and every office has a bilingual person. So I'm the bilingual person for this office as well. So when they ask, it could be questions about transportation, it could be questions about medical resources, legal resources, all of that stuff. So the calls that we do get, even though now when a person becomes one of our consumers, when we do the actual intake with them, they do have to have a disability. So, and and we help people with all types of disabilities, all ages, all income levels, but it's driven by that consumer. They tell us what they need, and then we go from there. We help them from that. But a lot of times it's family members that call also. They say, and from other parts of the country, they'll say, I have my mother who lives alone. She's this age, she's low vision, and she needs help. She's at a point where she can't drive anymore. So that could be an issue with that. Then they could be somebody who qualifies for our OIB program, for instance. OIB stands for older individuals who are blind or low vision. So under that program, they could qualify, let's say if they are totally blind and they want to learn Braille, we have the connections to make that happen. Training with transportation, training with using different devices, magnification devices. Maybe they need to get a service animal, you know, just all those things that, so we have our core services, but then we get grants that are very specific to a specific disability or an age group. We have like youth transition programs, for instance, that are from ages 16 to 26, for instance. But the core of our services, if somebody needs help with getting their benefits, getting housing, getting assistive technology, whatever, it doesn't matter what age they are or what disability they have. But the only requirement that we do have is they have to be able to make their own decisions. So we help anybody who is willing and able to use our services. And then the other thing that's different with independent living versus more of a case management type of situation is that we do it with you, we don't do it for you, kind of thing. So so the consumer is in the driver's seat, and then that advocate is in the passenger seat, helping them reach the goals that they have. So we set up something that's called an ILP, which stands for an independent living plan. And then some of those goals can be very easy to achieve. Maybe somebody needs a walker, and we may have a walker here in our office. Okay, that goal has been reached. Whereas other things, maybe finding affordable housing that's accessible to them, maybe they use a wheelchair and they want something that's accessible for them to get around. That can take a little bit longer, you know, finding that affordable housing, maybe doing some of the home modifications that may be needed, getting the right assistive technology for the home. All of those things are part of that independent living plan, setting those goals up.
Okay, thank you. And also to piggyback on something that Karen Ames said, I'm a member of the 5 cities, this is in St. Louis County, I'm a member of the 5 Cities Newcomers Club, and I started a program of sending cards during the holidays, similar to what the high school students were doing, but this was through the newcomers, and also some service organizations had started to do that. And so I had people write personal little notes on holiday cards between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they dropped them off at my door because this was in the height of the pandemic thing, so there was very little contact. And I asked each person to make a commitment of doing 25 handwritten cards, and they did. And I had a lot of response. And then I looked through them to make sure there was no personal information or things that might offend people inside, you know, just to be sure it was okay. And then I contacted nursing homes and assisted living places. And so I delivered them in bulk for all the places that were interested, and they distributed to their residents. So it was easier for me, but it worked. And I had 868 cards that I did between Thanksgiving. Well, I didn't do them, but volunteers. And so I think, you know, we don't think of these things that are more available and can be looked into. And it was, I'm gonna do it again. I think it was very successful.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you, Simone. That's just amazing. It's the little things. Like I see these seniors every day, and we just started going back in just the last couple of months, and they're just thrilled. They're thrilled, and the people that have made them cards, or even young kids, like, you know, since the kids have been off, a lot of their teachers have had them do just a coloring page and send to the facilities. Just that, it's the littlest things. I mean, it just brightens their days. And some of my residents going back in, I'm seeing these things like, yeah, I don't know if they were, you know, from you or not, but I'm seeing them up on their walls, and I'll say, oh, did your grandchild do this for you? No, it was somebody just sent it to me, and it just made my heart so happy, you know. So yeah, it's amazing. So just those little things.
Also, I forgot to say, I distributed them to Meals Who Connect, and they left a card with every person that they delivered the meals to, and also Meals on Wheels. So that was an addition too, that made it very personal. And they said when they go to bring the meals, they saw the cards, or the people would bring the card to the door and say, look what I got, you know. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Jerry, I had a question for you. Do you help with placement? Like, say if a senior called you and wanted to find out, you know, I'm not okay living at home anymore, I want to go to a facility. Do you help with that as well?
That we would refer that out, because our goal is, you know, with their independence. So somebody who wants to be as independent as they
right.
Versus for them, if it's something where they need to go to an assisted living facility, yeah, we have the resources for that, and saying, okay, these are some of the places that can make an assessment, make sure that you're going according to, but again, it goes back to what their wishes are, you know. And a lot of times, yeah, it'll be relatives that call back and say, you know, my mother's living alone, but you know, she's getting to the point where she can't live by herself anymore. So what do we do at that stage? So then we have to look at something else, but that's where the referral aspect of it comes into play. So yeah.
Jerry, we have a question in the chat.
Yeah, Dina Antiveros, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. Says, hello everyone, I live and work mostly out of Ventura County and provide services only to a few people in Santa Maria and SLO County. I am unfamiliar with many services are in general to monolingual Spanish-speaking elders. How robust are these services? Well, as far as from our organization standpoint, like I said, every office has a bilingual person. I personally, I was born and raised in Bolivia, so Spanish is my native language. So a lot of times when people call, even when they do speak English, to have somebody who understands their culture as well makes a difference. So not only just from the understanding standpoint of it, you know, we can provide that information to them. And then a lot of our materials too are now, everything's being done in both languages. So our flyers, our consumer handbook, which is about a 16-page document that every consumer gets, is both in English and Spanish, and also in large print for somebody who is low vision and just needs the larger print. And going along with just making things accessible, we also have a registry for ASL, for American Sign Language. And that's one thing we're doing now too, is having all the staff, we're doing ASL classes every other Monday so we can learn sign language as well. But with the Spanish, whatever office they call in Ventura, we have Jennifer Martinez, who's our information. She's my counterpart in Ventura, so she speaks Spanish fluently. So they would be able to talk to Jennifer if it's the Ventura office. But like I said, every office has a bilingual person.
And I think part of the question is looking at the issue of how general do you think Spanish resource people who can provide information and services are Spanish speaking in San Luis or?
Oh, and so overall, I've noticed, for instance, with the county, there are a lot of people, at least in San Luis Obispo County, they're quite a few bilingual people I've come across. A lot of other organizations that we collaborate with have at least somebody that is bilingual. So there still can be a lot done, as far as doing more outreach and making sure that people who are monolingual only in Spanish, and now even Mixteco is the other language too that we're trying to do some outreach in, especially in the Santa Maria area, is that all the materials that other organizations also have things in Spanish. Whenever we do any kind of training, we're co-hosting something, making sure that there's an interpreter for that, both for sign language and in Spanish. So it's also teaching. That's part of our systems change advocacy aspect of it as well, and making sure that things are just accessible to the overall population, So, and because our area has so many Spanish speakers, what we're doing too is we are collaborating quite a bit with the Latino Outreach Council that I was mentioning earlier, and doing some of those town halls that part of an education process of it, and reaching out to the populations that really need the services. So. And Dina says, thank you for addressing this issue. And Dina, if you want to give me your email too, I can send you more information, and also send you like the materials that we do have in Spanish if you need just more information about the services that are available, especially here in San Luis Obispo County. Many of the things cross over from one county to the other that we provide. But like I said, all our information's in Spanish as well. And then on the websites, of course, you can put various different languages. So we have that feature on our website as well, whatever languages. I was actually testing it the other day because my name throws things off as far as they go, oh, you're Hispanic, but your name doesn't match. So my name's Croatian, actually. So my grandparents on my dad's side were Croatian. So I was testing the Croatian feature on the website in addition to the Spanish one, and because I don't speak Croatian, but I'm going, oh, it does really switch over very, very easily. So we do have that feature on our website, and our website is just ilrctrico.org. And so we have multiple languages on there, but with our flyers and our just any office materials, we try to make sure that everything's in Spanish. And again, if somebody doesn't have somebody that's Spanish speaking, that some other organization that we work with, I've collaborated with them where I've joined in on some presentation. I just did one for Tri-Counties Regional Center down in Ventura County. And in fact, it was through the Rainbow Connection. And I did the Spanish version of our presentation for that group. So we can do that as well. Okay, any other questions, comments? I don't see any other. Okay, let's see. And I got your email there. Okay, and one other thing that I was going to mention before I forget this, for people who are not comfortable with joining some of our Zoom chat spaces and so forth, I just tell them, just call in and just listen in. So there's that phone option. Somebody may say, no, I don't want to deal with this technology yet. And there's a phone number you can call and just call in, listen in, become more comfortable with it. And then little by little, sometimes they go, okay, the next stage will be going in through Zoom, testing this out and see how it works. But there is that calling in option. Okay, so, all right. Well, I don't see any other questions or comments there. So Joyce, Ellen, do I pass it back to you?
Well, I can honestly say I'm hoping that people have some more thoughts to share with us before we would begin to close. Anybody wanting to make any comments of how to address elder abuse, how to address the whole isolation issue? We've had some great comments so far about some ideas to share around the community. Any suggestions regarding the inclusion factor? How do we try and make sure that everybody is included who needs to be included in services?
Well, this is Susan Chandler. I think it's really important to advertise as much as you can. We're doing this, we're doing that. And I think the Systems Change Advocate is really a good program. And I was wondering when you have your next meeting, or do you do it on Zoom or?
As far as, I know Jacob does Zoom meeting. I forgot what days that is from a Systems Change Advocacy aspect of it. He's our Systems Change Advocate for out of our Santa Barbara office, and Brian, who's our program manager, does it along with him. And I wanted to touch on the topic of advertising. One thing that we started doing, and maybe some of you have seen it, we started doing TV ads, and we've gotten a lot of responses from that. So we had through KSBY TV station here, they came to our office here and filmed for a TV commercial. So that's been showing during prime hours a lot of times through KSBY, which is our NBC affiliate over here in San Luis Obispo. And it'll be CBS news, and so we're getting quite a few responses from that.
Yeah,
ask them, how did you hear about us? And they'll say,
it's the
CBS.
I saw your
TV ad.
It's very good. I've seen it quite a few times. And I'm
so you have very... So, and then that's with our former executive director, Danielle Anderson, is in there, with the, so to show, the type of batteries and things that we can give out if there is a PSPS.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen the one where I think it's Santa Barbara.
Okay.
A lady with
Santa Barbara, yes, there is that one, but there's one that's just specifically for San Luis Obispo too. So.
I haven't seen the San Luis Obispo one. Huh. I think I've seen the Santa Barbara one, but it doesn't matter. It's really good because up till now, I don't think anybody's ever done that.
Yeah, it's for ILRC. And we have a new executive director, Jennifer Griffin is our new executive director. So she's the one who made it all happen. And so we did a thing here for San Luis Obispo. They came over and to show our, showcase our video phone for the deaf community. Then we showed up the batteries that we have for lending out for under a PSPS announcement. And then just an overall of our services. So it's that website is becoming a lot more interactive with it. We get some information requests through the website. The other thing is when we went to working just from home, we had our phone systems totally revamped. We got the laptops that we can take home. So if somebody wants to text us, if somebody sends a text to the general number, which is 805-462-1162 is the general number for this office, I'll get a text. It'll come on my computer screen. And I go, oh, somebody's sending a text, and I can reply to their text. So we make this communication, available, and in as many ways as possible. So whatever they're comfortable with, you know, we try to overcome any kind of obstacles.
Well, anyway, would you tell Jacob to put me on the list for systems change?
Yeah, sure.
Please. You've got my email.
Yeah, I have it. Mm-hmm.
Jerry, there's a question in the chat from Joanne. Does difficulty in walking qualify an older adult under disability advocacy from Independent Living Resource Center?
That works. I mean, well, basically anything that's preventing them to, you know, being independent. Like for instance, if it's presenting an obstacle to them moving around their home, it could make even driving more difficult, or they're not able to go to the store anymore. So maybe they need a walker, maybe they need a wheelchair, or they need a cane, whatever. Yes, yeah. So it's still a detriment to their independence, because maybe something that they were able to do before when they were able to walk fine, they're no longer able to do now. So we can help them get the assistive technology, perhaps, that will make it easier for them. So that, yes, definitely they can.
Okay, are there other comments or questions for Jerry? I just want to give everybody the opportunity to share or present some ideas and thoughts, either via the chat or just, you know, just unmuting yourself.
Joyce, Ellen, Mark Contoy.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, sorry, I was just listening and trying to jump in where I could. I'm Mark Contoy. I'm the division chief with Adult Services in Santa Barbara County, for those of you who I haven't met. I have a couple general comments. We oversee and operate adult protective services and home support services, and the public authority, which is the providers for the in-home support service program. So we come in contact with a myriad of different folks we're all serving throughout our community. And a couple areas that I've noticed both personally and professionally is being living in a 55 plus community locally. There are a lot of independent seniors and older disabled people who are living generally safely within their own apartments. And a lot of them receive either support from extended family, or they're there because it's convenient in terms of family located in the area. What I'm starting to realize is what kind of outreach, I'm interested in other counties, especially in SLO, are you doing to the 55 community outreach for those populations that, while we think they're safe and housed and nutritionally getting served, are they really? Because I found throughout the pandemic, there have been many seniors within my own place where I live that their needs have fallen short considerably. And that's one. And then the other question I have is, I'd be interested to find out what kind of dialogue you may have had with those individuals who kind of express the position of saying, why do we have to adapt to technology change? It seems like this is something at times that is being thwarted upon us, and that we do have many, many, many clients, right, who aren't able to successfully access the internet. And I'm curious to find other creative ways that you're able to fill that gap. I mean, some of the program, the Chromebook and things you've done in the support workshops are excellent ideas. But anyway, those are just a couple comments.
Okay. Well, definitely COVID has changed the way everything is done. So in the past, you know, before COVID, and now we're getting back into doing that. As far as outreach, we've done all the, like the senior fairs. We work with other organizations here that do similar things to what we do. Like here we have, for instance, Los Osos Cares, working with different county organizations. So we're members, for instance, with our organization, the Independent Living Resource Center is a member of the Adult Services Policy Council, which brings together. So we used to have these meetings in person. Now they're still being done through Zoom, which has actually brought more members into the fold for these meetings. And then we have the announcements and presentations for that. So those individuals can go out into their agencies and their areas of where they work. Again, we were talking about like the Meals That Connect, Meals on Wheels, those kind of organizations that will give out that information to the clients that they serve. So we'll do outreach through some other creative ways. But in the past, yeah, we would do whatever event there was, either that was sponsored by the county. So a lot of the tabling events where we would actually have a table there and do even some of the demos for different assistive technology devices, like let's say a pillbox reader, like that would read the prescriptions for somebody who
right.
the prescriptions. So they could actually touch and feel and look at the item.
My apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, something else is going on there. Anyway, all of that stuff has had to change, so we've had to modify with that. And it's like, hey, how do we get around doing this since we can't see those individuals in person? And again, going back to any event that we hear of that's a drive-by event where people are in their cars and they were giving information out to them in bags. We'll put the things in bags, they take their bag and drive away, so they have that information. So it's a lot of times it's the family members that go out there and get this information for them. But somebody who is isolated and doesn't have that technology, that's why we also did that TV commercial, so that this person most likely is going to have a TV and they're watching on TV, and then they see a commercial and then they call us from that. And then we've reached that person that way through our TV ads. So the TV ads have been helpful in doing that outreach to people that may have no idea of who we are and what we do. So that's been successful for us. But in-person things, we're slowly starting to get back into that, where we'll now go to different organizations. We also do presentations for different county agencies and doing more of the in-service trainings and presentations to their staff, so the staff can spread the word out there for family members, other care providers. So that's another way too that we've been reaching out to people.
Well, I think the second part of your question, Mark, is really critical. Why do we have to adapt to the technology? And I think, I really think that's the core of some of the issues that we face. I mean, certainly the baby boomer population is entering their older years with some technology. There's no doubt about it, but our primary success, as Jerry reports, is we've been using television ads for years, and that's what works. It's like when we initially started providing home delivered meals, we were shipping them out cold. We wondered if they'd get heated. Well, we found out that 90% of even people on IHSS or poor seniors have a microwave. And of course, the same is true with the telephone. I still think a telephone is the best way to reach our old population. Even if you go into your older years and you are technology savvy, how many people have that same capability 25 years later? I mean, when you are 60 and life expectancy is till 87 for your female and 65, I think, as an elderly gentleman, you're going to go through several generations of technology, and can you keep up? Can you afford to keep up? And do you have the capacity to? Now, obviously, many people do, but an increasing number of people, and our senior population is getting older. I mean, that's just one of the realities of all the, good health care, California, where you can get out and, walk and exercise every day. It is a huge issue, and we have to, as providers, I think, continue to remember that the telephone and the television are the primary methods to reach all the senior population, not just the savvy ones. And that's why with the vaccination campaign, you saw everyone saying we need to have a comprehensive, capable telephone system that can handle it. But again, we want to, so your questions to us are good ones. Outreach, mobile home parks. You may recall several months ago, for several months, Family Service Agency and about 11 other agencies coordinated a major outreach effort to find the isolated seniors. I mean, they found 1,100 people, the vast majority of whom had never had contact with any agency. I mean, that's an unbelievable effort. In our part, we had volunteers putting door hangers, visiting, mobile home parks. Great success in the response. People are just not knowing where to go, and resources need to include massive television campaigns. That's the bottom line in trying to reach everybody. That's going to take money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does take money.
Thank you.
Resources and all of that. And one thing that's been very useful here in San Luis Obispo County that we have through Wilshire Community Services is the Good Neighbor Program. So with the Good Neighbor Program, as they get more volunteers, but the limiting factor is making sure that there's enough volunteers to provide the services. But the Good Neighbor Program, what they do is they'll help people with errands, they'll take people shopping, cleaning, and it's a good fill-in for somebody, let's say, who does have a paid caregiver or is on IHSS, but then they need just an additional type of service. But a lot of times it's that volunteer is going out to see one person, and a lot of times that volunteer will notice that there's a neighbor maybe that needs that service as well, especially if it's a senior living facility. Then we'll get referrals that way sometimes too. It's like, okay, we're providing this service to this neighbor, but this other neighbor doesn't have any access, wants a computer, is looking to get a computer, let's say. Can you help them? So there's the referrals. The referrals are a big part of it that we'll get, let's say, from somebody from the Good Neighbor Program, Wilshire Community Services, because they have a program too that's called Caring Callers. So Caring Callers will call isolated seniors and people with disabilities just to chat with them. And a lot of times, they'll, as they learn more about that individual, then they'll reach out to other organizations to get other services as well. So it's trying to get the connections one way or another. And again, many seniors, will refuse to use technology. My stepfather was like that. He says, why do I need to learn all of this stuff? It's like, no way, I've lived all these years without using any of this. But COVID has changed that altogether, because otherwise they're dead in the water a lot of times when they don't want to use a cell phone, when they don't want to use, a computer. It's like, okay, you're going to need these things, to make your life easier and safer. So, and hopefully, where they're actually thriving because of technology if they're using that. So, And us, you know, as part of the line of work that we do, it's hopefully we can encourage that to come along. It's not that's as scary as you might want, you know, think. It's like, I've been doing this for a while, and it, believe me, it makes my life so much easier. And also for safety issues too. It's being able, like on my phone, I have all kinds of different apps. So I can monitor my bank account, my credit scores, all of these things. So that to me gives me peace of mind when it comes to fraudulent things happening, or, you know, when there's abuse by different organizations, all of a sudden your money's all gone from the bank, or there's a credit thing that was set up in your name. So showing that it's not also just useful for getting the information, but giving you a peace of mind as well through some of these very easy to use apps. You know, it's made I think it's made my life easier because of how I use it as well. You know, I don't let technology control my life. I use it to my advantage, you know, to see what things I want to see and set up the apps that I want to have on my phone, for instance. But yeah, it's a little difficult sometimes, you know, convincing people that it's like technology is your friend kind of thing.
You know, technology is, and a big portion of our in-home or our public authority program has been the EVV, the electronic visit verification mandate that was put on hold, which requires electronic timesheets for providers to get paid when they're providing services to recipients. And it was put on hold because they need to update the systems. But we went on a campaign to enroll and register. And while we sit in at right around 97%, the reality is there is and there will be a handful of people that we're just going to have to issue the old paper timesheets because they really, for whatever reason, have that digital disconnect. And I raised the second part of my question because I've heard it several times from a lot of our senior population is, why do we have to adapt to you? We're already disconnected already and displaced in the world with our generations moving away from us. And yet now we have to familiarize ourselves with a complicated piece of equipment. Of course, I'm just summarizing a very simplified conversation that was different. But I'm often reminded, and I have that dialogue with state at times in our meetings when they kind of present out these programs as easy peasy 1, 2, 3. And the reality is it isn't that way for everybody. And so I really love to hear the creativity and outreach, certainly with Joyce's group and what they did in terms of hanging this stuff to the doors in the mobile home park. So I'm always interested to get that kind of creativity for outreach, because even in the world we live in with scams, it's cautious and scary to just do a cold outreach to a senior person, where at the same time we're also acknowledging stranger danger. So it's a difficult balance. Mm-hmm. So thank you for letting me talk.
Well, Mark, it is a pleasure to hear your comments, and it reminds me with the upcoming funds from the this huge stimulus bill that that perhaps we really need to focus on accessibility to good information and the resources in our community as part of the priority for, especially, I mean, who knows how many people every day get disconnected, from the community, feel more isolated, and feel like just nobody cares. And yet, right, we have a, between the county, the cities, the nonprofits and the profits entities in our communities, we have a lot of caring going on. And how do we expand that to try and make sure that we're reaching everybody? And your point is excellent. We need to do more outreach and more information sharing. And I appreciate hearing that. It's I think, important for all of us to use our limited resources, for, in the best efforts to try and get everybody connected in some way. But the digital divide is a reality. It's not just a piece of equipment, it's the internet monthly cost. I just recently saw something, and there's an information session later this week. I think it's the FCC or somebody like that is working to make internet access cheaper. I haven't seen the criteria yet and how one makes that happen for our lower income individuals, because the internet cost is significant and it's monthly. So it's, a piece of equipment is great. Maybe we can do some of that through the upcoming stimulus bill, but what do we do about the ongoing costs? It's no different than any of the other realities. So I appreciate you bringing that up in today's listening session.
Absolutely.
So back to listening. Any other people on the call or the Zoom? We have also made it accessible via the telephone, and several people seem to have joined us solely by the phone, which I'm grateful for. That's we're trying to make sure everybody has access to these discussions that we want to do in the next several weeks. Any other comments?
This is Mark again. I would just like to say thank you for taking the opportunity and having the dialogue and the discussion. And I haven't always. I talk to my director and my deputy often. We have a tremendous amount of advocacy work that we are currently doing in Santa Barbara County, and the efforts, certainly through COVID on the various task force, Joyce sits on and others on the call, is there's a tremendous amount of outreach effort. But as I often say in child welfare, there's a voice out there we haven't found, and it's up to us to figure it out. And we can only do that through our collective shared efforts. So thank you for sharing out your experiences in San Luis Obispo and the other agencies. It's helpful, if for nothing else, to have company at the table, to know we're all struggling with the same issues, but maybe different.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thanks to everybody who's participating. Even just listening is for us a success with your attendance. I want to close by giving special thanks to Jerry for helping to facilitate today's meeting. I know I learned a lot about IORC that I didn't know, and I try and stay in the know. So very much thank you, Jerry. I'm going to reclaim the host, although I don't really know what that means, but they told me I need to do that. But we have 4 more listening sessions planned. Each of, by the end of the 5 listening sessions, we will have tried to review all the goals, the 5 goals that are in the Governor's Master Plan on Aging, and discuss, how we locally can try to move forward in some of these initiatives and goals. For this area agency on aging and the ones throughout the others throughout the state, we have to prepare an area plan, and we'll be using the input and the comments from these 5 hearings, listening sessions to help form the area plan. We acknowledge that we are all together working to create what AARP calls an age-friendly community. And I thought you might be interested in the framework that was initially developed by the committee that developed the Master Plan on Aging, because I think it has meaning for all of us, whether we're old now or going to be old or have older family and friends. It reads, I want to choose where I live and have the help I need to do so. I want to live in an age-friendly community. I want to have good health as I age. I want to be financially secure and safe as long as I live. I know that you all join us in this effort, and our next hearing or listening session is Monday, April 19th at 10 regarding the goal number 1, which is housing, and it will be led by Scott Smith, who's the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of San Luis Obispo. So thank you all for participating. If there was something that you wanted to say and just, you know, this forum just doesn't work for you, feel free to just give us a call, send us an email. Any of the above will work for us, and thank you very much. I'm going to close the meeting unless anybody else wants to say something. Well, thank
you, Joyce Ellen, for putting this together, and I think there's some great work ahead. And you know, California is in the forefront of setting trends for the rest of the country in so many ways, and I hope that this particular item is definitely, because as we all continue to age and all these needs that need to be met, and I think it's great that as a group we can accomplish so much more together.
Thanks to everybody, and